finds the Nia Jax.
WWE just made a huge mistake. A mistake that could literally destroy the women's division as we know it. And yes, that is bringing back Nia Jax. But is it really that bad? Let's find out. It goes without saying that Nia Jax is probably the most controversial rehire of the Triple H regime so far, and for one really good reason which we'll get to. But for those who don't know, Jax was released on November 4th of 2021 along with many other talents who were part of the massive pandemic era budget cuts. Although later on, Jax would confirm in an interview that her refusing to get vaccinated also played a huge reason for her release. While someone losing their job should never be seen as a good thing regardless of the person, many wrestling fans and even some people inside the WWE believe that Jax should have been let go from the company years ago. The reason being is that she was known to be an unsafe worker. So much so in fact that there are actual articles recounting every opponent that she's hurt and even injured by a botched move in the past. Chief among them were Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Kairi Sane, and of course, Becky Lynch. And although there will always be physical risks involved in a sport like pro wrestling, performers are still responsible for taking care of their opponents in the ring in order to prevent such risks. Nia Jax, however, doesn't seem to uphold this responsibility to the best of her abilities, as you'd often see during her matches that she just throws around her opponents with reckless abandon. Sure, her moves can look like they hurt more, but it's always at the expense of the other person's well-being. What makes this even worse is instead of owning up to these mistakes and listening to some very valid criticisms from wrestling fans, she would just be dismissive about the whole situation and even fire back with her own childish insults. Now this would all have been water under the bridge had it looked like she learned to be a safe worker from her time away in the WWE. But from the small sample size we've seen so far, that is definitely not the case. Exhibit A. And while we're at it, who thought it would be a great idea to give someone like Nia Jax the bonsai drop as a finisher?
The stupid idea from bad creative.
One of the most dangerous moves in pro wrestling, it can easily shatter someone's ribcage if done incorrectly. Heck, even the late great Yokozuna, the man who popularized the move, almost killed the guy with it once. But believe it or not, Nia Jax is only a part of an even bigger problem that's happening with the women's division right now. Real quick, if you enjoyed the video so far, why not give it a like and subscribe? It only takes 1 second and it helps the channel a lot. You see, bringing Nia back was a move done by WWE to bolster the current roster, and she's clearly being set up to be Rhea Ripley's next challenger for the women's world title. But the thing is, even without Nia, the women's roster is already stacked with talent as it is. It's just that a lot of them have either been lost in the shuffle or just completely forgotten entirely. Adding Nia Jax into the mix just makes things even more complicated, as putting her immediately in the main event spot, which she doesn't deserve yet, means that someone else's push gets sacrificed in favor of her. Someone like Raquel Rodriguez, who could have been a bigger threat to Rhea if they had given more time to build up their feud. And even if it's not Raquel, there are two women in the Raw roster that would have made more sense to be Rhea's next challenger. The first one would be Shayna Baszler, who had just squashed and potentially retired Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam. WWE could have easily used this huge win to catapult her into the main event scene, but instead she got thrown into this random storyline with Zoe Stark, and even more recently, found herself in the receiving end of a beatdown from Nia Jax. How does someone go from this to this in just a span of a month? Sheesh. The other one would be Becky Lynch. Becky looked like she was a lock to be Rhea's next contender for the title after coming off a hot feud with Trish Stratus. These two surprisingly have never faced each other one-on-one on the main roster, and so a feud between the man and mommy would have made for a big money match that could have stretched until Royal Rumble. But as we all know, that wasn't what happened. Instead, Becky moved back to NXT, took the title from a younger talent in Tiffany Stratton, and became a Grand Slam champion, which is fine, not ideal, as Becky is pretty much hogging the spotlight from actual NXT talent, but she did prove to be a huge ratings draw for NXT, so it's a double-edged sword. Regardless, Shayna and Becky could have filled the role that Nia is currently being positioned to, and with less controversy. So, is bringing Nia Jax back a bad decision by WWE based on her track record? Probably. Other than her intimidating size, there really isn't much Nia can offer in terms of promo skills or in-ring work. And on top of this, concerns surrounding her being an unsafe worker just makes Nia a liability more than anything. I do hope I'm wrong about all of this and Nia Jax ends up being a positive for the women's division because, well, it looks like she's here to stay. Just please give her a different finisher and not the bonsai drop, because at this rate, if she injures one more person, you might as well rename her to Nia Jax. Anyway, thanks for attending my rant session. Till the next video, peace.